years I'm going to come to pulpit in Ballyhea. But I'd like to thank you all for coming here today. It's a year. No, we don't normally make speeches. Ever make speeches. We normally just come here, we march, we go home afterwards. But today I think I feel I have to say something. First of all, to all those who've come a long distance, I say thank you very much. Welcome, you know, to the likes of Constantine down there, Declan Ganley. I think Burt Reynolds is here again today. Came a long way, but thank you all lads for coming here today. And I suppose the reason we're here a year after we started marching, you know, is that at this stage we are an enslaved people. We are an enslaved people. We don't have rights anymore. They're being taken off us bit by bit. We don't have the right to real health service. We don't have the right to real education anymore. We don't even have the right to a decent police service. We're trying to police this ourselves here this morning. You know, all we have at this stage is a use. All new masters, lads, are the ECB. They're all new masters. The ECB, the EU, and to a lesser extent, the IMF. And our function at this stage is to produce money, to feed the greed of their children and their children's cousins. The banks in Germany, in France, in Britain, in the US, and worldwide. That's our function now. Our overseers, lads, our overseers come from among us. Kenny, Gilmore, Noonan, Rabbit, Varadkar, Sugary Sean Sherlock from Mallow up here. They're all new overseers, lads. They have our orders. They have our quotas. They have our deadlines. Their motives differ. You know, some of them are there because of fear and cowardice. Some of them are there because of ignorance. They don't know what's happening. Some of them are there because they're self-service. They know exactly what's happening. But they're going along with this because it serves their own needs. They're drawing the fat salaries above in the Dáil while imposing this austerity on us. As I said, they have our quotas, they have our deadlines. They have their whips, and those of us who are not in line, they'll draw blood from us, lads. They'll draw blood from us, and they'll tell us that they have to impose these household charges because it's mandated under the agreement by the Triangle. There were a lot of other things mandated that they're not imposing. There are a lot of other very, very strong vested interests that they're not tackling. Anywhere on that agreement, lads, is there anything that calls for them to cut the salaries of the highest paid politicians, the most overpaid politicians in the world? Here. Is there one word? No, there isn't. Not a one. Because if there was, then you'd hear the squeals. And then you'd hear the objections. But at the moment, they're there to carry out the orders of the ECB. We thought we elected them to take our interests to the ECB. And what they're doing is they're bringing the ECB's interests to us. That's what they're doing. This austerity that they talk about imposing on us, 3.8 billion in austerity this year, lads. 3.8 billion this year. At the end of this month, 3.1 billion in promissory notes destroyed in our economy to pay the Anglo bonds. So I ask you, who's the austerity for? The austerity is to pay the bank bonds. That's what we're sacrificing for, to pay the bank bonds. And you might ask, how do we get into this mess? Because the world is asking, why is Ireland not protesting? And it's simple, as it's the propaganda. The propaganda. Goebbels would be proud of what's happening with the propaganda here. Because what we are being fed in our media are lies, half-truths, semi-truths, even a little bit of truth. And that's how you do it. You know, you sow confusion, misinformation, disinformation. And then over the whole lot of it, what you have is the threat. And the big hammer that's there is, if we don't pay, they'll pull the rug from under us. Fear. And that's what's driving a lot of this, what's happened to us. Fear. It's not over, lads.
No,
it's not over. The so-called austerity, well, you think you're suffering austerity this year. 3.8 billion this year. 3.5 billion of an austerity budget planned for next year. 3.1 for the year after. 2 billion for the year after. That's 12.4 billion in cuts and extra taxes in the next 4 years, taken out of our economy here. And at the same time, they'll tell you the bank bond this year is dead. 19 billion in bank bonds this year, 17 billion next year, 55 billion in bank bonds over the next 5 years. Now they'll say not every penny of that is coming from the taxpayer. One way or another, every penny of that is coming out of this economy. Yeah. And I'm likening it to the 1840s. You know, when the ships came into this country with relief food, but they met packed ships going out. Yeah. And that's the same thing happening here. You have foreign direct investment coming here, you have big announcements, oh, there's such and such, so many jobs being brought in here. What they're not telling us is that the money is leaving the country every week. A couple of weeks ago, 300 million from Bank of Ireland, one bond. Last Wednesday week, 900 million from the Bank of Ireland, one bond. £750 sterling, that bond was. That was money leaving our economy, servicing the British economy. We can't afford this. And you put that on top of the austerity budgets and you try and calculate where we're going to be in 4 years' time. We have to put a stop to this now.
We've been Canada.
No. We have them saying, oh, Michael Newell is doing a great job, Enda Kenny is doing a great job. They're over in Brussels and Frankfurt and they're negotiating the terms of the promissory notes and the terms of the payments. You know, no good. No good. They had the begging bowls out. What they should be doing is telling the ECB, no. We're paying no more of these bank bonds. End of story. We're paying no more. There's a great sculpting. There is a great sculpting. It has the fat man, a big fat man, up on a skinny man's back, along for the ride. And he's saying to him, I'll do everything I can to lighten your load, but I'm not getting off your back. But I'm saying to the ECB this morning, get off our back. Get off our back. And I'm telling you this, my friends here. If they get off our back, we will soar. We will soar. Because the people of this country are, I think, the best in the world. We will soar. We have an educated people. You look around you here at what we have. You look at the natural resources that we have here and tell me why we should be a struggling economy. They told us lies, lads. Iceland. Look at Iceland. Yeah. Iceland is a tenth the size of this country. It has ice and it has fishing. Right? Iceland, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, their government were going to do what our government did to us. But their president, unlike our St. Mary here, ensured that they got a vote. They got a referendum. And they were able to tell their own government, go to hell. We're not doing this. 2.5 years later, they are beginning to recover. They're back in the markets, their credit rating is going up because they stood up for themselves. Right? Our government has given us a deadline. March 31st, we have to register for the household taxes. Well, I'm saying now we should throw this back in their faces, just like we throw the lies back in their faces. And we should say to them, no. We will not register. Let that be our referendum on the bank bond holder payout. If that money is going to the bank bonds, we will not register. That's the first thing. The second thing we throw back in their faces is this. For all that the British did to us over the 600 or 700 years, and a lot of it we brought on ourselves, let it be said. Right? During the 1840s and during the Great Hunger here, because there was no famine, during the Great Hunger here, when the ships went out and they met the ships coming in and everything else, one thing at least they never did, they never destroyed food in front of our eyes. They will be destroying here 3.1 billion of our money at the end of this month. We should now throw this deadline back in the government. Before March 31st this year, burn the promissory notes in their entirety or go. Do the first honourable thing you've done since you came in here. Go.
And take Peter Sutherland with them.
Yes. So lads, I just say what we need here, and we have it here, is courage. So the questions, and I've said this already, the wrong questions are being asked of the wrong people. We are being asked, what are your alternatives? What will we do if they do this to us? And I'm saying one word, courage. When somebody bullies you, you stand up to them. You stand up to oppression. The Syrians are standing up to Assad at the moment, and the world is cheering them on. We are standing up to the ECB, and our own media are saying to us, well, what's your alternative, lads? We can't do anything else. You stand up to oppression. You turn around to the ECB and say, why are you doing this to the Irish people? Why are you inflicting this misery on the Irish people for the sake of your banks? We've had enough of it. A bit of housekeeping, lads. Thank you very much. A bit of housekeeping. To all of you who came here, thank you very much. But a special group of people, okay? Agus as ocht bukri, go on and wait us to go on. The Sedini, a big shul and Shockton to raise Shockton to raise Shockton. It's later. It's later.